Sophia's life came to a screeching halt after she gave birth to triplets with dark skin. Her husband, Lucas, wanted nothing to do with her, and she was kicked out of her house. However, a decade later, something shocking happened. Hospital staff, not occupied with their duties, gathered to witness the commotion at the entrance. A man named Lucas was repeatedly unloading bags from his car and dumping them at the gate. Visibly angry, security officials approached him gently, asking him to stop, but he acted as if they were invisible. They tried to talk to him, but he wouldn't listen. When they finally had to restrain him, he swung wildly, landing a punch on one of them before they brought him to the ground. After being subdued, Lucas confessed a chilling story. He claimed his wife, Sophia, had cheated on him and tried to pin another man's pregnancy on him. Both were white, so it made no sense for her to give birth to black triplets. He screamed that he was done with the marriage. The bags belonged to Sophia, and since he couldn't take them all into the hospital, she would have to pick them up herself. He didn't care that she had just given birth, all he knew was that she had hurt him deeply. When the security men released him, Lucas made his way to Sophia's ward. Sophia was still sore from childbirth and couldn't move freely. The newborn infants were crying around her, and she looked at them without feeling. Lucas told her never to return to his house and to go back to the black man she had an affair with to have him raise the triplets. Sophia stared at him in disbelief. She couldn't believe he was kicking her out. She knew giving birth to 3 black babies was mysterious since they were a white couple. Earlier, Lucas had been in the delivery room but stormed out the minute the babies were born and he saw they were black. Sophia had assumed they would talk things out when he returned. She had no idea he had only gone to get her stuff. She begged him not to leave her like that, as she had nowhere to go. As a nursing mother, caring for all the kids without his support would be emotionally and physically exhausting. But Lucas yelled at her to keep quiet. She and the kids could rot in hell for all he cared. Lucas cast one last devilish glance at Sophia before storming out of her hospital room. That day, she could barely think straight. She called Lucas numerous times, but he refused to pick up. She sent him texts, but they all went unanswered. It was as if he had completely blocked her out of his life. And since she was stuck at the hospital, there was little she could do. Feeding her babies and taking care of them were the only things that took her mind off her troubles. However, when she looked at them and saw their dark skin, she began to wonder again just what had happened. Her marriage was in shambles because of the color of her baby's skin. She knew that unless she solved the mystery, things would only get worse. Having no other choice, she led her mother, Elizabeth, for help, and as expected, the elderly woman came running. Elizabeth couldn't understand how such a joyous moment could turn into something that could destroy a marriage, however. She decided not to ask questions because she knew Sophia was going through a lot. The first order of business was to make sure all of Sophia's belongings were properly taken care of. She loaded them into her vehicle and drove them to her own house. Later, she returned to the hospital to assist Sophia. Having one child was stressful enough, but having 3 was overwhelming. Elizabeth knew Sophia had her hands full, and with all the issues with Lucas, Sophia was not in the right frame of mind to deal with things on her own. So she chose to be there for her. She made sure Sophia had her meals at the right times and breastfed the babies when they were hungry. When Sophia felt tired and went to sleep, Elizabeth made sure the triplets were either sleeping or not making noise. Those first hellish days were still difficult for Sophia to bear. Losing Lucas was hard because she cried all the time. Having a baby was supposed to be one of the best things for a couple. She didn't understand why. When it was her turn, it ended up destroying her marriage. She couldn't think straight. She couldn't even breastfeed the triplets properly because her mental health was in shambles. She was so down that it began to affect her health. That night, she came down with a severe fever. Thankfully, the doctor worked on her immediately, and by the next morning, she was fit as a fiddle again. Despite what Lucas did, she still believed she could win his heart. She was sure that once she figured out the truth, he would come back to her. For now, he was only acting on emotions. She was certain he still loved her. Sadly, she learned the truth about his feelings a few days later while changing the diapers on one of the triplets. Her phone beeped with a message from the bank. The joint account she held with Lucas had been wiped clean. When she saw the message, She almost lost her mind. That was her savings. She had been the one putting most of the money in the account. Lucas seldom contributed, and when he did, it was always meager. She had always believed she had more say over that money. She never expected him to steal it. It was then that she realized Lucas was out to ruin her. And it was becoming too much. He had kicked her out of the house. He knew she needed that money. But he had taken it anyway. It meant he didn't care what happened to her. At that moment, she stopped caring as well. All that mattered was the well-being of her babies. She was done trying to get Lucas on her side. She called the police and reported the theft. She would have also called the bank to freeze the joint account. But it was too late because every penny had been taken. The police launched an investigation but quickly found it wasn't going to be easy. Lucas had run out of the state. The same day he stole the money. He fled, making it impossible to find him and recover the stolen money. That period was one of the darkest for Sophia. She was always gloomy as she thought about her next move. No matter how long and hard she thought, no solutions seemed to emerge. It was hard to believe her life, which had been perfect just a week ago, had turned upside down. She just didn't know how to move on. Thankfully, her mother came to the rescue. Elizabeth picked her up at the hospital. By then, Sophia had fully healed and was ready to leave. Elizabeth cleared all outstanding debts, and together they moved to Elizabeth's condo on the edge of the city. Everything that happened was a major setback for Sophia, but she refused to let it weigh her down. She was determined to provide a good life for her children and her mother. So she began looking for work almost immediately. Luckily, she got a job soon after. While it didn't pay impressively, it was enough to get started. Sophia worked hard, and when the triplets were old enough to attend school, she began working double and triple shifts so money wouldn't be a problem. They found a balance in their lives and made it work. But like all good things, it couldn't last forever. When the triplets were 5, a series of encounters turned their lives upside down. Strange and creepy notes started turning up in the house, always with the same undertone. The notes accused her of cheating and promised to make her suffer. Many times, the notes gave graphic descriptions of how she would pay. It was terrifying because no matter how hard she tried, Sophia couldn't stop them. Every few days, a new strange note appeared. At first, they came by mail, but later she began finding them inside the house. Whenever she returned from work, she felt someone had gone through her house. And sure enough, there would be a note under her pillow. This terrified her greatly, as she knew it was Lucas. He had managed to stay hidden all this while and was now coming out just to torment her. She refused to let him have that satisfaction, so she reported everything to the police. She told them about the notes and how each one got more threatening and how she was scared for her life. Sadly, there was little they could do. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't find Lucas. He was still running circles around the cops. Just like 5 years ago. This didn't bode well for Sophia. She changed all the locks on her mother's house and installed alarms to ensure any break-in attempt would immediately alert the cops and neighbors. She tried to return to her life despite her worries about Lucas. She was preparing for a promotion at work that would greatly improve their standard of living. With her mother taking care of the kids, she focused on preparing for the promotional interview. When it finally came, she performed excellently and got the promotion. This was a great cause for celebration. Finally, she had wonderful news. Knew all the financial problems were about to end that day. Sophia went to pick up the triplets from school, and one of them handed her a note. The moment she saw the note, her blood went cold. It was the same note Lucas had been threatening her with. She grabbed the note and read it. It was the same thing but also said that no matter how much she tried, he would always be able to terrify her. Sophia asked them how they got the note, and they told her a strange man had given it to them. The man had told them to give it only to her. As she listened, tears burned her eyes. She had never expected Lucas to come so close to the kids. It was getting too much, and she called the police again. This time, they decided to follow her home to ensure everything was safe. They also carried out a search to ensure there was no trace of Lucas around. They couldn't find anything, but they made sure to keep her home under watch for the next few days to ensure he didn't come near. She wept profusely, yelled at the sky, and sighed 1,000 times as she wondered how someone who had once loved her could hurt her this way. To stop further threats to her children, she decided that it was time to move to another city. Moving was difficult. She had to quit just after she had gotten the promotion of a lifetime. It was so unfair, but there was nothing she could do about it. Her children didn't want to go either. They couldn't bear the thought of leaving their school and their friends behind. They loved their lives there. However, Sophia told them that until everything was settled, they couldn't stay there. Their lives and well-being were more important to her. And now that she knew that Lucas would go to any length just to get her, she needed to go someplace where he would never find her. Eventually, they moved to a different city. They managed to start up their lives there along with Elizabeth. She enrolled the triplets in a new school and managed to get a decent job that suited their needs. Slowly, they made the city their home. And soon everything about Jonas and his nasty messages became a thing of the past. All she wanted now was to move on with her life. And that's what they did. When the kids turned 10, Sophia decided to throw them a party. It was a momentous period because she also felt like celebrating. Their birthday was also a testament to how she had kept everything together despite how things had gone south for her years ago. However, while the birthday party was going on, the doors swung open, and Lucas walked in looking weary. Sophia was shocked to her bones as she stared at him. He was looking worse for wear, as if his sins had finally caught up with him and dealt him a severe blow. When he saw her, he immediately began to beg for her forgiveness. He told her that he was sorry and was ready to accept the triplets as his kids. This was so out of the blue that for a moment, she thought she was being pranked. However, Luke, as serious, his expression told her that he wasn't joking around. She asked him what suddenly changed his mind, and he told her a chilling tale. He had always known that the triplets were his. After his mother had found out that the children were back, she had taken him aside and told him about how she had cheated on his father with a black man. It was an affair that had led to pregnancy. At first, she had been terrified that the birth of her baby would expose the affair. But when Lucas was born, he looked white, and no one would have guessed that he was also black. To save face, she chose to take the secret to her grave. But when she found out that the same secret was destroying Lucas's marriage, she divulged it all to him. Sadly, Lucas didn't care that the kids got their dark skin from him. He saw the triplets as the perfect opportunity to break up with her without casting suspicions on himself. That was the reason he was adamant about anything she said and refused to listen. He broke up with Sophia, stole her money, and went to live with his girlfriend. However, it turned out to be a big mistake because the girl had only been with him for the money. And once it ran out, she dumped him mercilessly and moved on. It was then that he realized just what a treasure Sophia had been and how foolish he was to let her go. He tracked her down to her mother's place but was shocked to find her doing well. That only infuriated him, and he began sending all those nasty messages out of jealousy. Later on, he managed to track them down in the new town by going to Elizabeth's old place and asking around. When he was done, he begged her to forgive him. He said that he'd been foolish then, but he knew better now and was ready to accept his kids. But she turned him down. He confessed to Leah that he'd fallen out of love with her and had been seeing a girl he met at work. She reminded him of how he had kicked her out when she was still nursing the triplets. She told him about how he refused to give her a chance when she begged for it. And she told him about how he terrified her with his notes that then forced her to move. She then said that nothing was going to make her take him back, he didn't deserve it at all. He left her place dejectedly, and she called the police at once, who managed to find him and place him under arrest. Now that he was under lock and key, she could breathe easy, and she continued working towards having a good life for herself and her kids. She knew that soon she was going to tell them about Lucas. But she believed that the time for all that would come. But in the meantime, she was willing to enjoy her kids to the best of her ability. What a beautiful story. Who would have guessed Lucas was such a snake? What would you have done? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. See you in the next video.